Now that you've worked through a close reading process or two, we're ready to go deeper into the techniques and strategies of close reading. This lesson discusses a few advanced strategies for close reading. Let's start by reviewing the close reading guide. As you orient yourself to this document, you'll notice it contains several sections which you can navigate in Google Docs using the sidebar menu. I want you to look at the first section, the close reading guide questions. Note the questions are subdivided into different categories: language, themes, purpose, characters, narrative development, and argument. Each category has questions pertaining to that category. The first advanced strategy is simply to aim for a variety of observations by having several observations in each one of these categories of questions. More variety will give you more interesting interpretations. If you analyze from the perspective of only one or two of the categories, you will miss important things. Another suggestion is to treat the language category as especially important. The questions in this category can produce rich, useful annotations for your analysis. Language-based observations are the bread and butter of close reading. Let me highlight a few underappreciated types of things to look for in this language category. First, tone. Tone typically refers to the attitude the speaker has toward the subject. The tone of a word or phrase can be formal, informal, humorous, angry, exultant, ironic, and so on. In general, a writer will employ a distant or cold tone to show distrust or dislike, and an intimate or warm tone to show a positive or trusting attitude towards something. A tone that is ironic or formal is more negative, whereas an informal or exultant tone is more positive. A writer controls tone through diction or word choice. There are always other words the writer could have used. Why this one? In general, abstract or specialized words are often more formal, and more common colloquial words are informal and warm. In the passage we analyzed from Educated, Westover writes, "He sat on our mustard-colored sofa, a large Bible open in his lap. Mother was next to him. The rest of us were strewn across the shaggy brown carpet." Strewn is a pretty casual word, suggesting the informality of the way the children were arranged as they listened. Maybe this suggests the children were comfortable in their home, or maybe that they were treating this Bible lesson casually. A few lines later, his eyes, which moments before had been swollen with fatigue, were now wide and alert. There was a divine doctrine here, he said. He would inquire of the Lord. Inquire is a bit more formal. Why inquire instead of the word ask, for example? Because it's serious business. The father's seriousness contrasts with the children's casualness, creating an important aspect of this family scene. Another tip is to analyze figures of speech. On the close reading guide, you can find a list of common figures of speech and how they affect meaning. Note how figures create specific effects such as emphasis, de-emphasis, comparison, and connotations. Analyzing figures of speech can help give your analysis a more technical explanation for why you think a phrase is important and how it creates an effect for readers. One especially powerful figure of speech is metaphor. A metaphor equates to unlike things, creating a comparison between them. Most commonly, a metaphor uses a more familiar concept to help make a less familiar concept better understood. We might say romantic love is like fire, to help someone who has never been in love, or even someone who has, get a better sense of what it is like. We are using something concrete or experiential, fire, to describe something abstract, the feeling of romantic desire. In this way, metaphors provide a way to conceptualize things we otherwise cannot. But they do this in a very important way. They highlight certain aspects of a concept while hiding others. The metaphor "love is fire" highlights the intensity of love, corresponding to the fire's heat. The warm feeling love creates, corresponding to the fire's warmth. Maybe even the danger of love, corresponding to the fire's wildness if it's not controlled. On the other hand, love is not like a fire, and in these ways the metaphor does not fit. hiding aspects of the concept of love. For example, romantic infatuation is directed at a specific person, but fire does not have a direction in which it grows or spreads. And love is a private feeling that you cannot make others share, whereas you can transfer fire like lighting one candle with another. Take another example. Time is money. This metaphor highlights that time, like money, is a limited resource, but time is not money in other ways. If you spend your time trying to do something and it doesn't work, you can't get your time back. There are no time banks. I can give you a lot of time, but you can't give me back the same time. Yet by adopting this metaphoric concept for thinking about time, we think about time in a certain way, as a commodity. What would it mean to think of time not as a commodity, but as something else? Because metaphors change how we think about something, it is important to spot them in close reading and analyze what they highlight and what they hide. When you encounter a metaphor or analogy or other kind of comparison, think about what it highlights and hides, and ask why would the writer want to highlight those aspects and suppress other ones? What is the effect? The last tip for this lesson is to embrace contradiction. You might not expect it, but contradictory observations are good. They lead to more interesting interpretations because they prompt you to think creatively. For example, in the Hoja reading the Quran lesson, some of my observations focused on the formal style of the mosque, while other observations picked out warmer, informal aspects of Hoja's reading corner. The apparent contradiction between these two things helped me discover my thesis about the painting as showing a harmonious connection between the human and divine. Contradictions create tension, and finding the tension in a text is always a good way to find its meaning. So look for contradictory or opposing forces working in a text and see if you can speculate from there what the author is trying to do. Okay, you're ready to try your hand at some of these more advanced strategies. Good luck. I'm looking forward to seeing what you find.